You've written that the transition town idea of communities creating an energy descent pathway is hugely inspiring to you. Why do you think it works so well as a model?
Well, I think one of the things about the transition town model is that it provides a clear way through one of the biggest blocks. And one of the biggest blocks is, I think you've phrased it really well, you talked about what is there between changing light bulbs and waiting with frustration for governments to do something. I mean, particularly with issues like climate change, which a lot of people feel very concerned about. And the peak oil issue, that oil becoming depleted, actually requires a very similar response. Again, it's about reducing our over-dependence on fossil fuels. And what I like about the transition town concept is it's saying we don't have to wait for the United Nations to reach agreement on this. We don't have to wait for all of these international committees that are heavily influenced by sponsorship and lobbying by oil companies that are really trying to block awareness of the issue. And we don't have to wait for that. We can just get on and do something ourselves. But also it's moving up a level. It's not just individual action, it's communities acting together. Because also there's an idea about we are exposed to a vulnerability. And the vulnerability is how is this community going to survive when oil is not so available? And what's going to happen with oil is it's not just going to run out overnight, but it will become gradually more and more expensive. And when it does become more expensive and more difficult to get hold of, how are we going to cope for employment? How are we going to cope for transport? How are we going to cope for food supply, water supply, dealing with our rubbish? That what it's doing is it's asking those questions now, but in a way that pulls people together to make that community more secure. Now, on the whole, people are used to the idea of responding to potential threats. I mean, the whole insurance industry is based on that. Nobody knows whether they're going to be broken into, but what happens if you have insurance? It's like, well, okay, I've dealt with that anxiety. And we don't know when oil is going to peak. We don't know when oil is going to become much more difficult to get hold of. But what we do know is it's going to happen at some point. And it's reasonably foreseeable that it's actually going to happen within our lifetime. And so if there's a reasonably foreseeable risk, what this is a way of community acting together in a way that reduces that risk. And what I've noticed happen is in my involvement in the Transition Town and City movement. I spoke at the Transition Town launch in Totnes and also the Transition City launch in Bristol, is that it's a great way of bringing lots and lots of different parties together. That it's not just traditional people who've been into the environment for a long time. There are business people who are concerned about how their businesses are going to manage when the energy prices go up. There are local councillors, the mayor of Lewes is coming along tonight. It's a really good cross-platform. It seems to sort of like people are aware that this is going to affect all of us, and therefore it's something that we need to act together in responding. So I think why it's been effective is it's given people a route to deal with their anxieties about the future that involves a positive community response that brings people together, and it's actually about saying how do we develop a better quality of life. It's not all about giving up, but actually there could be a positive future here if we start moving towards that now.